What up, nation? Welcome to another edition of the WiseTake NBA DFS Early Look. CK013 here. You can find me on Twitter at CK_013. And I, of course, am from the WiseTake Nation, which you can find on all the social media platforms listed above. We are a premium DFS content provider as well as a DFS community designed to help make you a better DFS player. Even if you're ready to take your game to the next level, go check us out at WiseTake.com to get access to our projections, articles, cheat sheets, everything else you may need. Slack chat for the monthly members or higher. If you're new to the channel, welcome. Make sure you subscribe, hit the notifications bell so you're notified whenever we do go live. We do NBA content Monday through Friday. Try to do 2 streams a day. One on the early as an early look, which is this one. And, of course, our flagship show, which is the NBA Wise stream, which takes place 2 hours prior to lock. And we take you up to lock to make sure you have all the latest information and you can react accordingly to anything that breaks out late. Obviously, in the NBA, injury news is everything. It's a very reactive game that we play here. So make sure you check out the flagship show later on. Wise stream action. Let's go. I see some of you guys have already hit the like button. I appreciate it. Very, very much do appreciate it. And if you haven't hit the like button, I ask that you do also hit the like button. Because again, it really helps us out. Goes a long way. Allows us to continue to do the free content. And we like doing it. We like talking to you guys. We want to continue doing it. So if you guys can hit that like button, it really helps us out. It really goes a long way. And we appreciate it. With that said, we've got, what I don't even remember the slate size. It's decent, right? 8 games? 8 games. That sounds about right. We got 8 games, and we have some pretty interesting matchups. We've got Minnesota and New Orleans with a 247.5 total, just massive. We've got Philly playing the Lakers, although Philly is missing Embiid and Simmons, so it's not exactly the marquee matchup that we would have hoped for. And we have Washington playing the Kings. Obviously, Washington, one of the better teams to stack against and play themselves for fantasy purposes. We've got a potential playoff matchup between the Brooklyn Nets and the Boston Celtics. There's a lot going on. I think it's a pretty good slate. There's some pretty interesting things. So let's go ahead and jump into it and get things rolling. First up, we got the San Antonio Spurs visiting the Charlotte Hornets. We have a 212 total down from 214. The Spurs opened up -3. They're up to -3.5. I'm going to pull up the schedule notes article from my boy Jay Irv. It's a free article available at WiseTake.com. I recommend you guys check it out and start your research with that just to find out what teams, where they are in their schedules. At the NBA, man, the schedules could be grueling. It really goes a long way to understand what teams are on back-to-backs, what teams are on 4 and 6s, what teams are rested. All those things kind of come into play, especially in the sports betting market for those of you who get down that way. As of right now, we know the Spurs are on the back end of a back-to-back. It's their 3rd game in 4 nights. Charlotte's had a day off. They are in the midst of a 3-5. Nothing crazy. It's pretty standard for the NBA. Starting with the Spurs side, we know LMA is expected to be out again. I think that's the expectation across the league. Is doubtful once again. DeMar DeRozan has been a little disappointing in terms of the usage. I think we all kind of expected him to step up and really show some strong usage, and he really hasn't. I mean, last night he was like mediocre at best. Maybe he enjoys a softer defensive matchup here against Charlotte. Charlotte does play extremely slow, but they do not play very good defense. So I think he's on the table as a mid-tier option, but hard to get excited. I think Lyles is looking like one of the better options from the Spurs. Lyles has been playing a lot of 5. He's been playing monster minutes, played 40 minutes in that game total, initially got hurt. And then, of course, I think last night he played 37 minutes last night. Took 17 shots, took 7 threes, 6 boards, 2 blocks. That was against the Pacers, a team that's very big, a good rebounding team. He's going to play a team that's not very good at rebounding. So I do like the matchup for Lyles. Obviously, Drew Eubanks could get more run. He played 16 minutes yesterday. Again, wasn't all that impressive. But this is a team where centers typically do well. Maybe he fits the matchup better. It really depends on what they want to do with the rest of the rotation, because we see them start Eubanks. Last night they started Eubanks. They started Lyles at the 4. But ultimately, Rudy Gay came in pretty quick and stepped into the 4, which led to Lyles moving down to the 5. So I still prefer Lyles. He's my first option. I'm cool with Rudy Gay. He got going a little late. He had a very slow start last night. In the second half, he played a lot better, but unfortunately, he exhausted his minutes, only receiving about 27, I think. So assuming he gets another 27, he got 28 the day before, I'm okay taking a chance on him, being that there is an injury situation to take advantage of. DeJounte Murray, I'm also good with. Patty Mills, for value, I'm fine with. So there's some interesting plays. It's obviously not the most attractive game on the board, but again, we have an injury to take advantage of. But at some point, the prices are going to catch up to these guys. Lonnie Walker is extremely cheap. He's also been getting some runs. So there's some wiggle room. There's some things you can kind of mess with. But Lyles is kind of looking like a strong play for me, at least as of now, at 12:47 p.m. Eastern. On the Charlotte side, Devontae Graham is out. So we've got another injury to kind of consider and take advantage of. He's been officially ruled out. Terry Rozier would appear to be poised to kind of step his game up. Terry Rozier with Malik Monk and Devontae Graham off the court has demonstrated a 2.6% usage increase, bringing up to 26.4% usage with a 1.08 fantasy point per minute. When you consider his price, I think he's well within reach. I expect him to see a higher end of minutes, considering that not only Graham but Monk is also out. So two of their preferred ball handlers out. I think Rozier is going to play a lot of minutes today. So I do like Rozier quite a bit on both sides. Cody Martin is fine for value. I prefer him when he's like below 4, but he's not that much above it. I think he's okay. PJ Washington, you could take a chance on. I'm just not a huge PJ Washington guy. I do like Miles Bridges. I think he'll play some big minutes. We've seen him step up in certain circumstances, and I expect that to be the case once again today. Miles Bridges only showing a 0.9% usage increase, but he's also showing a 20.2% overall with a 0.95 fantasy point per minute. And I think he's going to play big minutes. So his price has come down to a point where I'm interested in Bridges. Jalen McDaniels, you can take a shot on for value. He's extremely cheap. Bismack Biyombo's been playing more center. This is a really good matchup for centers in general between Eubanks and Lyles. Not really concerned about the defense there. So I'm kind of interested. It is possible that they move PJ down to the 5, which could squeeze Biyombo out if they want to go smaller. It's definitely a possibility. Both teams probably wouldn't mind doing something like that. And then they would play more of, Caleb Martin or some of these other guys to kind of fill in, or Jalen McDaniels probably to fill in at those positions. So again, it's not like the greatest total on the board. Charlotte is a very slow-paced team. It's more like a situation where I want to pick my spots. I don't want to go too heavily vested in the first game, being that there's so many good games on the board, and this is by far the lowest total out of all of them. With that said, let's go on to the Brooklyn Nets visiting the Boston Celtics. We have a 220.5 total, down from 221.5. Boston opened up -8. They're down to -7. They have some injury news that we have to keep track of. In the meantime, let's take a look at the schedule. Brooklyn has had 2 days off. They do have a game tomorrow. Boston as well. Both teams have had 2 days rest. However, both teams do play tomorrow. So if this game were to get ugly, look for them both to kind of bail a little bit earlier. That's a big if. It depends on who's in and who's out. Starting with the Brooklyn side, we're going to Dinwiddie and LeVert right away. Those are our first two candidates. If we're doing game stacks, those are the first two that we're contemplating whether we want to put in or not. And I'm honestly okay with them. You'll see on this slate, as of right now, we don't have a ton of value. There's not like a ton of guys that are projecting super high for us on a point per dollar level, which means the pricing is a little bit more efficient in that sense. That's typically what that means. We've got a couple guys, but for instance, like we've got Alec Burks, who we'll talk about, projected as the highest right now, and I have to really take a look at his minutes and make that decision. But Trey Lyles is projecting the next best for us, basically, and that's only 5.97x. So there's been a lot of times where you'll see a bunch of guys projected for 6x. We really don't have. We have one player right now, and that's a big maybe because I think his minutes may be a little too high. We'll have to analyze that. So with that said, typically on slates like these, it's a little more optimal to lean towards the mid tier. On FanDuel, I'd be loading up on Karis LeVert at 6.3. I mean, Dinwiddie at 7.1 too. I'm not really sure why their prices are so low. Even Taurean Prince at 4K, he played like 21 minutes in his last game. That was a disappointment. But Brooklyn on FanDuel, a lot more enticing. On DraftKings, you have to make a conscious decision if you want to play these guys, including Jared Allen, who I don't mind. His minutes have been up and down lately, but this is a spot where he could really do well against Boston, who struggles against bigs. But Dinwiddie and LeVert are the main two that I think we want to focus in on here going up against Boston. Now, as far as Boston goes, we have a lot of injuries to pay attention to. Kemba Walker is expected to be back. However, we anticipate him being on somewhat of a minutes restriction. I'd be shocked if he played a full 30 minutes. His price is really low, so it's a situation, and the matchup is phenomenal against Brooklyn, who struggles against point guards. So it's something where we want to take a look and really make a conscious decision, but maybe it has something to do with the status of his teammates. As of right now, I can tell you that, as of right now, Marcus Smart is questionable and Jason Tatum are questionable. I think they're both sick. I know Tatum is sick. They're both sick. So Tatum and Marcus Smart are both sick. If they miss, that's going to really make us want to look at Gordon Hayward and Jaylen Brown extra hard. At that point, we could also consider Kemba more for tournaments, being that his price is low, especially on FanDuel. We just have to be conscious that he's going to be probably somewhat limited. With that said, the usage would be high enough. I think we could take a shot on, and the matchup is awesome. So I'm actually, like, as of right now, there's not a ton of Boston guys that I'm too into, especially if everybody's healthy in this scenario. But because all the prices have gone up. Once again, on FanDuel, they're a lot cheaper, make a little bit more sense there. So this is a wait and see for me at this point with Boston. They've been really good. Tatum's been awesome, all this stuff, but Kemba's been out. That's a big usage piece missing. So with him coming back, I would imagine that's going to throw a rift into things. But again, if he's going to be like extremely limited, it could be different, especially if we get some of these guys out like Smart and Tatum. If they were to miss, that would really make us want to look here hard and potentially even open up some value below with some of the other lesser name players, if you will. But the Brooklyn side right now was a little bit easier to kind of point out and pinpoint. Minnesota Timberwolves against the New Orleans Pelicans. We've got a 247.5 total, by far the highest I've seen in a while. Actually, we just had a 240 yesterday. This is high. This is real high. Both teams have had a day off. Both teams have a game tomorrow. Again, something to keep in the back of your mind in case this game gets ugly. And this game does have a really big spread. We have a 247.5 total. New Orleans is currently 11.5 point favorites at home. Starting with the Minnesota side, Naz Reid is going to be one of those guys it's going to be polarizing. His price is low enough on both sites, especially on FanDuel, where he could really do some damage in a pace-up spot. He's got a solid high point per minute average. It's just a matter of minutes. His minutes have been a little inconsistent. Foul trouble has been a thing for him. I'm not sure how much Derek Favors plays or how that works. If they decide to go smaller, is it worse? Maybe he sees Zion. That's even worse. I'm not sure. But he got 27 minutes against Dallas. Didn't get in any foul trouble. Was 4-13 from the field, but he only went for 27, which on FanDuel was fine. On DraftKings, that would have sucked. Before that, 4 fouls against Vooch, 5 fouls against Miami. Played Dallas again, and once again just wasn't anything spectacular. But he's taken double-digit shots when he has gotten the minutes. When he stayed out of foul trouble, the minutes have been fine. It's really foul trouble. Without foul trouble, he's getting around 27, which is enough for him to do dirties at these prices. With foul trouble, he's playing as little as 19. So I think it really depends on how you think this is going to go between Derek Favors and Zion Williamson. Malik Beasley's price is up a little bit. But I do think this is a matchup he can excel in. I have some concerns with Minnesota because their minutes have not been as consistent as they were when they first got this new team. For instance, Malik Beasley played 30 minutes against Dallas, 34 against Orlando, 33 against Miami. But when he first got to this team, he was playing 38, 36, 35. So a little bit of inconsistency, but I'm still willing to take a shot, especially in game stacks. And this game obviously does fit the bill of a decent little game stack. I think I'm actually going to raise his minutes a little bit because I don't know. I just think he's going to play a little bit more. Let's see. What do I have him at truly? I have him at 34 truly right now. I don't think moving him to 35 is that big of a deal, especially because his role on this team is a little bit bigger. So I like to overproject his minutes just a little bit to match up with the role. It's a little better on FanDuel. It'll help you reach him. On DraftKings, we might not be able to reach him just yet, but we'll have to see as time goes on. D'Angelo Russell, he has played some really big minutes, bigger than we're used to seeing. He's got an extremely high price tag, but if they're going to keep this game close, I would think it's going to be on his shoulders. The usage has been really healthy here. Over his last 2 games, played 37 minutes against Dallas, 36 against Orlando. So I think they have a game tomorrow. Are they going to be hesitant with his minutes? Maybe it depends on how into the game they are. But definitely a potential spend-up option. James Johnson, if you want to set a rule for him and Naz Reid not to play him together, play one or the other, that's certainly an option. It's a fast-paced matchup, so you want something. But the prices have come to a point where nothing is like a given. So, again, everybody's elevated pricing. I always tell you guys I'm willing to overpay in a situation where we're doing a game stack. So I'll overpay for players in a game stack. And this is definitely one of the more game stackable games without a doubt. So you need to stay close. Both teams play tomorrow. The minutes could be a little wishy-washy, but both teams play really fast, and both teams are not very good defensively. So I think that there is some upside here. On the New Orleans side, it was a little easier to pinpoint these guys, and Minnesota's been a gold mine to target against. The only problem is Minnesota does get blown out a lot. Derek Favors is cheap. He's in a really good spot. Obviously, the minutes aren't as high as we'd like, but the matchup is phenomenal. Minnesota's been getting destroyed by bigs. Brandon Ingram, I'm cool with. I mean, the price has been elevated a little bit, but this is a really good matchup. Not going to face a ton of resistance. Again, you're going to have to overpay for him a little bit, I think. If that price was the way it was with Noah Zion, I'd be a lot more interested. But I'm still fairly interested. You could see as a team they kind of project a little better in that mid-range. Drew Holiday, certainly a viable option. He's played really big minutes lately. Zion Williamson, I think he's going to play a lot of 5. I do like Zion today. I think he plays a lot of 5, just in the time that Favors doesn't. And again, this is a matchup where bigs have really, really excelled and played well. Lonzo Ball's been on another one of his tears. His minutes haven't been as high as they were earlier, so I'm being somewhat conservative. Didn't want to give him the full. I don't even think we have him for a full 37. To be honest, I think we have him. Oh, shit. I think we have him at. Yeah, we got him at 36.5, so not even a full 37. And that's because he hasn't really played those 37, 38 minutes that he was playing earlier in the season. But in his last 2 games, he did perform well, and this is a pretty good matchup for him in general. So maybe we do want to do a little something to get him there. I mean, like I said, it's Game Stack City. You know, Nicolo Melli, if you're going to take value, why not take it from a game with the highest total on the board? So I think there's some moves to make here. We just have to sift through, get some news and figure out which ones, figure out what kind of value we have to work with, who we can afford. All that good shit. You guys know. All right, pop up in here real quick. Oh, is Tatum out? Is Tatum out? We'll see. Checking out the chat real quick. Charles Walker, what up, CK? Had a great night. Thanks to the nation. I've learned so much from our Slack chat. Charles, absolutely, man. That's a big selling point. For those of you who don't know, the Slack chat is for monthly memberships or higher. That's the only way you get in there. Day passes, you'll get access to all the NBA content. You just don't get the Slack chat. But I do recommend it, man. The community aspect of this is huge. It's how everybody learns. It's not just from, you watch our videos, you read our content, you're going to learn something. But a lot of times we have a lot of really sharp members who are in there talking all throughout the day. Guys like G-Tuck, MG. I don't mean to be disrespectful if I don't name you, but you're in there. But like Larry DeRosa, LD. We got a bunch of dudes that been doing this for a while. They've been with us for a while. They've learned a lot, and everybody's willing to help each other. That's the beauty. Like, not everybody has time to be in a Slack chat. I get that, but the ones that do are in there pretty much every day, just grinding it out and learning and making moves and doing what they got to do. So shout out to you. Shout out to you. Oh, okay. Oh, Charles, are you guessing that? Charles says Tatum out, Marcus Smart plays. Is that a guess, or did that news just come out? Aldridge out, Bellinelli out. Smart doesn't expect to have a minutes limit. Oh, maybe we did get that news. Kemba will play, but on a minutes limit. Okay, Tatum unlikely to play. You're right, Charles. My boy Chuck right there. Got you. Good looks, man. Good looks. I'm glad you pointed that out. So if Tatum's not going to play, that's going to be pretty big. And you figure Kemba's on a minutes limit. Let's talk about that for a second. I'm going to go back to that game for a second. We were done with Minnesota anyway. But that's pretty big, right? We want to address that situation. I'm glad. See, that's the community aspect, man. Chuck hooking it up. Juice, what's up, bro? Appreciate it, Juice. Good to see you, man. Good to see you in the Slack. I see a lot of you guys already hit that like button. If you haven't, please do. It helps us out. It goes a long way. Allows us to continue the content. I appreciate you guys. You guys are the best. All right, let's look at this Boston situation real quick. I'll make some final updates after the show, but I just want to go over some preliminary stuff. Take a quick look. So if we remove Jason Tatum, I think that's it. I think everybody else is healthy. They even got Robert Williams back. So with no Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, 27.7% usage rate, 1.03 fantasy points per minute. Gordon Hayward, 24% usage rate, 1.05 fantasy points per minute. Marcus Smart, 20.8%, 0.9 fantasy points per minute. Kemba Walker, 32.1% usage rate, 1.3 fantasy points per minute. So clearly he's the biggest benefactor from the players that actually get minutes. Kemba Walker with a 4.1% usage increase with Tatum off the court. The issue, of course, is how many minutes do we project Kemba for? They said he will be on a limit. We don't know what that's going to be. He did miss some time, but he is going to play. His price is low enough, especially on FanDuel, where you could just bypass the limit and say, nah, I think he gets at least 26. I don't care. Hopefully we get some information on what that limit actually is. So I'll be stalking beat writers because that's what we do to try to get that information. But in the meantime, if I zero out Tatum, I'm going to bump. Oh, shit. What did I do? I'm going to zero out Tatum. I think at this point, I'm willing to bump Gordon Hayward up to something crazy because I expect him to play a whole lot of minutes. I do think Marcus Smart, this is going to be a way for Marcus Smart to have more time on the court as well, so I want to adjust his minutes. And then Jaylen Brown, man. I really like this spot for Jaylen Brown. Let's just give this some time to update, but I think Jaylen Brown is going to end up being my favorite Celtic at this point. Really soft matchup all across the board. Yeah, Jaylen Brown, 5.54x, especially in game stacks. Boston has got a little bit more attractive, as you can see. Their projections got a little more enticing. Let's just take a look at Theus. Theus really has no impact from what I see. He don't move much. He kind of does. I mean, he's averaging 1.02 fantasy points per minute, but there's really no increase. It doesn't really seem to move all that much. Gordon Hayward with a 3.3% increase. Marcus Smart with a 2.3% increase, and Jaylen Brown with a 2.8%. So I think we made the necessary adjustments for the players that we expect to see boosts at this point. It's a shame Marcus Smart's price is so high. This is a really good spot, but on FanDuel, that price is kind of redonkulous. Oh, God, he was just smashing too. Yeah. Yep, but I do like Jaylen Brown and Gordon Hayward from this team. And on FanDuel, you can see on FanDuel, they just went to the top of the charts at 6K and 6.2. Both small forwards. I'm okay with it. I don't got a problem with it. All right, let's keep it rolling, and then I'll pop back in the chat in a second. We got the Los Angeles Clippers visiting the Oklahoma City Thunder. Thunder, lightning in the thunder. What we got here? I was just watching that shit. What was it? Will Ferrell's basketball movie, Semi-Pro. I love the opening of that movie, man. I love that songing things. I wanna do a little thing with you. I wanna do a little thing with you. I love that shit. I got that shit in my head as I'm talking about this shit. Anyway, the Clippers visiting the Thunder. We have a 227.5 total. That's up from 226. The Clippers opened up -3. They're up to -3.5 at this point. Looking at the schedule, the Clippers have had a day off. Oklahoma City's had 3 days off. Oklahoma City's had 3 days off, 3 days rested. I would bet on the Thunder in this particular scenario. It's not as much of a mismatch. The Clippers have had a day off, but OKC 3 days rest with what I believe is the best team in the West coming into town, their home turf, and you're giving me 3.5 points. I'll take that home dog all day. AD all day. Starting with the Clippers side, Marcus Morris is Marcus Morris. He's going to do what he does. Let me see if his usage has increased at all. No, his usage is so low. And his minutes, we haven't projected, I think, for too high minutes. Obviously, when players are out, we'll like these guys a little bit more. But in the meantime, I should have probably lowered him a while ago. I completely bypassed it. If I lower his minutes on FanDuel at 4.3, they're really trying to tempt you. I mean, but to explain why I'm so down on him, his usage rate against Philly was 8.3. He played 27 minutes, went for 17 DraftKings points. Usage rate was 8.3. Against Denver in a blowout, his usage rate was 21.2, played 25 minutes. Against Phoenix in a 10-point game, 24%. So we need some injuries. It's just the way things are right now. I'm just not thrilled. With everybody there, with Kawhi Leonard, Paul George, you got Lou Will fighting for some shots. Now Reggie Jackson's out there trying to check up shots. It's just, I'm just not thrilled about it. I'd rather find something else. Patrick Beverley's kind of interesting, but his minutes have been a little down. Now they're a little deep with the guard situation between the four guards they have: Shamet, Lou Williams, Reggie Jackson, and him. So I'm not too thrilled with this side. I don't mind Kawhi Leonard. I do like Paul George, actually. It's a revenge spot, but that has nothing to do with it. It's about his price. He played 30 minutes in his last game. They've been gradually increasing him. So I would assume he's going to get either 30 as a minimum or maybe a little bit more. And his price is 7.1 and 6.8. That's just too cheap. I mean, I understand that he hasn't been, the Paul George we all know and love. But it's just too cheap. The usage rate is still, 24.9 against Philly, 28.5 against Denver, 25.8 against Phoenix. So I know his scores have been down, but I'm willing to buy low on him. He's still taking double-digit shots. He's taking like 6 to 8 3-pointers a game. He's grabbing some boards. He's getting involved. And I expect that once his minutes go up, you can expect him to drop dirties all over again. So I want to get ahead of that curve. And look at the price, 6.8 for Paul George on FanDuel, 7.1 on DraftKings. That's crazy cheap. I do like PG if nothing else opens up. Kawhi Leonard I'm okay with as a spend up. The value is going to be tough to reach him, man. I'm always good with Kawhi because I believe he's the best player in the league. Whatever. Montrezl Harrell's price is okay. It's a little risky against Adams. I'm not thrilled. Lou Williams has been on a tear. It's just really hard to project him for any kind of significant minutes, and you don't really know when he's going to do it. He's just been extremely efficient, so that's kind of hard to chase, right? 8 for 12, 6 for 12, 3 or 4 from 3, 5 or 7 from 3. All that stuff helps, but he went for 33 and 22 minutes against Denver. He played 28 minutes against Philly, went for 30 and a half. He went for 40 and a half. He had a 30.5% usage rate. So I respect the usage rate, which is why I was a little more aggressive with his minutes. But I'm a little concerned with the competitive atmosphere of this. I mean, on FanDuel at 5-1, I'd be a lot more willing to take a chance. On DraftKings at 5-9, I know the three-pointers help, but you just can't help but wonder or think that something else is going to be a little better at that position. But I'm okay with him. I'm okay with taking shots on him. On the OKC side, Danilo Gallinari projects to be one of the top options for us on both sites. With anytime he's under 6K, he's going to project well. And we have a fairly conservative minute projection. This is a revenge spot for him as well. I think I gave him 32 and a half. Let me see. Yeah, I gave him 32 and a half, and he's probably going to see 33, so I could. I just didn't want to I didn't want to over project him by any means. But I like Gallo. The price is too low. They're going to need him to contribute. Steven Adams has been playing around 28 minutes a game, and we know he's got massive upside. And this is a team that has really struggled against bigs. Now, there is some concern that if they want to go a little smaller, they can play Noel a little bit more. But either way, whether it's Noel or Adams, this is a spot where you're going to want to take a center against these guys to just smash. And Adams is a big, bad dude. I don't think they got nothing for him. Revenge spot for Chris Paul. Maybe we were conservative with his minutes, but I got him at a flat 33, which is typically what he plays. But say we gave him a 34. They've been rested. So if there was a situation where they're going to play their guys big minutes, this would probably be it. They're playing a really good team. Their guys are rested. So I do think that makes a lot of sense. Gave him a boost at 34. It looks a little bit better now. But Gallo, Adams, and Paul are my favorites here. Gallo first. I think he's the most optimal. Adams is my favorite tournament play because of his pricing and the matchup. Then we can start looking at Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who could end up seeing big minutes at any point. Dennis Schroeder, who's got massive upside in somewhat limited minutes, when the time calls for it. So I'm okay with him, and I think that there's some upside left on his price, some meat on the bone, if you will. Hold up, puppies having nightmares. 1 second. Poor dog. 3 months old, man. He was having nightmares. He's 14 weeks old. He's having nightmares and shit when he sleeps. He's taking a nap while I'm working. And poor dog. Sad thing. Sad thing. Good puppy. Anyway, that's kind of where I'm at with that one. Let's move on to the next game. What we got? We got Toronto and Phoenix. Another situation where we don't really know until we get the news. But we'll take a look at it and guesstimate for now. We've got a 225.5 total, up from 222. The Raptors opened up -4. They're up to -4.5. Kind of surprised that's that little with how good the Raptors are and how bad the Suns are perceived. Looking at the schedule, Toronto has had a day off. Phoenix has had 2 days off, so I guess maybe that certainly helps, having 2 days of rest. Starting with the Toronto side, Fred VanVleet is questionable. So is Serge Ibaka. Both guys have missed a couple games. If they're out, it completely changes the dynamic of this team. Kyle Lowry is 6'9" on FanDuel and he's 8-1 on DraftKings. That's a very large price discrepancy. I'm good with Lowry on FanDuel. On DraftKings, he's just okay. Rondé Hollis-Jefferson's been a massive disappointment as starting chalk, but if Ibaka's back, he's gone. If Ibaka's in, I do like Ibaka. I'm willing to go back. I think we even are maybe a little conservative with Ibaka's minutes. I don't see a world where he's back unless he's limited. I don't see a world where he's back and doesn't see at least 30. Probably even more than that with Marcus Gasol still out. Where you at, Ibaka? So hypothetically, if I give him 31 minutes, he should project a lot better, should project pretty well. And I like him on both sides with Gasol out if he plays. Same thing with VanVleet if he plays. If both guys miss, I'll have to jack up OG Anunoby because he's been smashing in this role. Just going nuts and playing huge minutes. So if those guys are out, Kyle Lowry becomes even better. Pascal Siakam becomes even better. OG Anunoby becomes an awesome mid-tier play. And then RHJ is there for value, probably more so on FanDuel at 3,800. So, and not to mention Norman Powell, who's played really, really well in this role as well. So if everybody's healthy, I think it's mainly the guys that are healthy that I'm the most interested in Van Fleet and Ibaka. If those two miss, then it's kind of like the rest of the team. So definitely a situation we're going to want to pay attention to and get that news. You know what I'm saying? On the Phoenix side, Devin Booker with no Oubre is going to play big minutes. I'm fine with him as a spend up. Ricky Rubio, I need to jack his projection up on DraftKings a bit to get him in there. He's looked really good. And with Oubre out, we know they're going to need him a little bit more. So I think it all kind of correlates. I think it all kind of makes sense to me. Mikal Bridges, a minutes play, going to play monster minutes. I'm cool with these other guys. I'm good with in game stacks. I do genuinely like DeAndre Ayton. The minutes, when he was healthy, he was playing upwards of 38, and we know that Kelly Oubre's been out. So I want to say that he would play 38 again, but he's been dealing with an injury, and that could really mess things up. But if I give him the 38 minutes like we used to give him, he projects really strong. I know the point per dollar is not 6x, but it's over 5.5, and raw points come into play at a certain point. So I really like the spot he's in against Toronto if we're confident he's going to get full run. And with that said, they do have Aaron Baines back. They've got guys they can play. Dario Saric can play 5 if they need him. Although Saric is filling the role for Oubre. Saric is okay too. A little easier to reach on FanDuel. At 5K on DraftKings, he could be tougher to reach. Probably only a game stack for me over there in those situations. But Booker, Rubio, and Ayton, those main three players, once again, I'll be looking to, even in a matchup against Toronto. But again, Rubio, we're going to have to do a little something to raise his projection. On FanDuel, it's a lot more attractive. On DraftKings, we have some work. There's a pretty big price discrepancy there, for sure. FanDuel's always soft pricing. That's what they do. That's what they're known for. That's what they do. Doing dirties. I'm going to do one more game, and then I'll pop into the chat, say what's up to you guys, and then we'll finish strong with the last two. Got the Golden State Warriors visiting the Denver Nuggets. We have a 218.5 total, up from 217. The Nuggets are currently 15.5 point favorites at home. Both teams working with a day off. Draymond Green, questionable. If Draymond plays, it's going to mess up the dynamic of the slate. If Draymond plays, I do like him on FanDuel at 5.2. On DraftKings, he'd be okay, but I don't know. Even when he did play the other day, he got kicked out with technicals and shit, and he got into foul trouble anyway. If he's out, I'll be a lot more interested in some of these guys like Eric Paschall, Juan Toscano-Anderson. I'm okay with Andrew Wiggins. Don't love the spot against Denver. I just don't really love playing people in Denver unless they're exceptionally good. Dragon Bender, I wouldn't mind if Draymond Green is out. He's actually been getting some decent run. Jordan Poole is an option. He's going to be playing a lot of point guard, I would imagine. I would assume around 32 minutes. That's been consistently what he's been playing. But if again, similar situation, right? If guys are healthy, I'm not all that interested. Marquise Chris could be sneaky. Foul trouble is an issue with Jokic, but he could be sneaky if Millsap's out. Because without Millsap down there, Denver really struggles against bigs. So he could be the sneaky one. But even him, if Draymond's in, the minutes are very tough to project in general. So we need some injury help here to really buy in on some of the Warriors guys. On the Denver side, the blowouts are concerned. Paul Millsap's price is really low. If he plays, I'm okay with him at 4.4 on DraftKings. Will Barton is still really cheap. Will Barton's kind of been in a little funk, and his minutes have been a little down because of it. 27 minutes against Toronto, only an 18.5 is what he scored. However, he did have a 22.5% usage rate against the Clippers. Not exactly a great performance, but 26.6% usage rate. So the usage is still there. He's just kind of been in a funk. So if Millsap's out, I would think that's going to help his cause. Jamal Murray, a minutes played. Jamal Murray's price is actually pretty solid if you consider, again, blowout is an issue, so we have to keep that in mind. But I actually don't mind Murray's price on either site. Another one, like I said, he's been a little inconsistent, but I think he could really do work in this type of matchup here against Jordan Poole and guys like that. But again, this is projected to be a blowout. An injury to Millsap would certainly help. Jokic is in a phenomenal spot. This team really struggles against centers. If Millsap were to be out, I would raise Jokic's minutes by at least 1, which would really make him a top pay-up option, in my opinion. The blowout, of course, is just lingering there, and it's kind of in the way. But whenever there is a blowout, I prefer to go with the team that's supposed to be doing the blowing, if you will. Because obviously, if there was a blowout, those guys were mad efficient. So maybe they did hit their projections in the right time. But that's a little tougher to say with the expensive players, obviously. A little tougher. before we go to the next game, we pop in this chat. Check on y'all real quick. Wisco, what's up, Wisco? Wisco says Tatum sitting on his birthday. He must have got crunk last night. Yeah, man. I don't blame him, right? I mean, you got to do it like Luka. He turned 21 in Miami and still showed up to play on his birthday. William Critter, what's up, bro? Good to see you, man. Always good to see you when they're popping in, man. Juice, okay then, CK. Didn't know you had them in YouTube. Didn't know I had that in me. Yeah. I feel you. Merca Mill. Yeah, I followed Tatum on Snap, and he posted one snap dressed all up, so you know he was turned up. Yeah. Illness is what they say, right? Yeah. I'm assuming Marcus Smart must have been the one that just went out and went ham with him. I'm assuming that must have happened, but that's a really good point. His birthday, all of a sudden he's sick the next day. I mean, shit, back in the day when I worked, whatever, the 9 to 5, it's the same story, right? If I called out the day after my birthday, if I called out the day after New Year's, if I called out the day after whatever, regardless of whether I was sick or not, I was going to get accused. And, I can't even blame people for that, right? You can't even blame people for that. We're going to finish these next 2 games strong. Hit me. Yeah, exactly. Wisco says he took a PTO day. Yeah, exactly. If you haven't hit the like button, guys, please hit the like button. If you're new, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out on anything. We're going to go on and finish these next 2 games up strong style because that's what we do. We've got the Washington Wizards visiting the Sacramento Kings in a pretty interesting situation. We've got a 234.5 total, which I believe is the second highest on the board. It's pretty far off from the 247.5, but this game, the difference is this game is projected to be a little closer with a 5.5 point spread. The Kings currently favored by 5.5. Washington has had a day off, but they play tomorrow. Sacramento's had a day off, but this is a 4-6 stretch. Starting with the Washington side, I wish Thomas Bryant would finally get some minutes. I would love to play Thomas Bryant, not just because he's cheap. I just think he's good when his price is reasonable, and it's more than reasonable. The problem is the minutes. He's been playing very little minutes. Rui Hachimura, I think, is fine. Doesn't project all that well and is only getting around 30. Similar situation where when guys are all healthy, it's just kind of tough to pinpoint, tough to predict. Davis Bertans, around 30 minutes. He's got big upside, 3-point upside. Shabazz Napier, I really want to like. But if they're not going to play more than 25 minutes, it's going to make it difficult. But I would like to play Shabazz. I want to like him. Bradley Beal, what could you say about Bradley Beal? A fine spend up. His usage has been massive. He's been really good, coming off another awesome performance against the Warriors. So I'm good with it. I'm good with it all. I am going to raise Beal up to 40 minutes, though, because I want to make sure that we at least get him over that 5x threshold. So we at least have a shot at getting some more of him. I may have to do a little work to get him in our teams for real. But in the meantime, he's been playing monster minutes. The price is elevated. Don't get me wrong. We don't have a ton of value that I love, so I get it. But you know what I always say, guys. I'm willing to overpay in the game stack. And this is definitely a game stackable game. No doubt about it. What you making all them noises for, boy? The hell is that? What's all them noises? You hear me? He's yawning, making that weird ass cat noise. Go lay down and chill, boy. All right. On the Sacramento side, these guys are getting paced up massively. So this is the side I have a little bit more interested in this game. De'Aaron Fox is probable with an abdomen injury. His price is elevated, but obviously in tournaments, I'm willing to overpay if need be. Harry Giles and Alex Len, that's a decision. This is a spot where centers typically thrive. Alex Len has been sneakily taking some minutes away, and he hasn't looked bad doing it. So I wouldn't be surprised to see him ultimately get some more run over Giles at some point. But in the meantime, we have to figure that situation out because whatever center gets the minutes is probably going to do some work here. Looking at Harry Giles, he had 4 fouls against Detroit. That could be why he only got 20 minutes. He got 30 minutes against Memphis, 24 against OKC with 5 fouls, 24 against Golden State with 4 fouls. So obviously foul trouble is going to be an issue for him. Or can be, but it shouldn't be an issue in this particular matchup going up against these particular players. That's how we do that. As far as Alex Len goes, we've got Alex Len played 28 minutes against Detroit. That was obviously with Giles getting into foul trouble, only seeing 20 minutes. But against Memphis, he only played 16, but went for 22. We got 21 against OKC, went for 27. That was another game where I think Giles had some foul trouble issues. So when he's gotten minutes, even limited minutes, he's really performed. He's really done well. But obviously, that's a big if he's going to get those minutes. So yeah, the Kings side definitely a little bit more interesting in that sense. Moving over to last game here, the marquee game of the night would have been if everybody was healthy. We got the Philadelphia 76ers and the Los Angeles Lakers. We've got a 220.5 total. The Lakers opened up minus 12.5. They're down to minus 12. Obviously, Philly is without Embiid and Simmons, which are some pretty big pieces there. Hold on one sec. Gotta discipline these damn dogs, man. Chewing on shit he's not supposed to be chewing on. Making noises and shit. Anyway, Alec Burks, that's a big question there. I think I have him. I mean, the minutes, I looked at a few different sources, and a lot of people had him up there. So I didn't want to underproject him because if he is going to get 27 minutes, he would be a top play on the slate. However, he only got 25 minutes against the Clippers in a really close game. And that would have been the game where I would have figured they would have used him more. That would have been a game that they would have probably preferred to use him a little more in. So we'll have to see. But yeah, situations will arise, if you will. All right, let's keep rolling with this. We've got... So Alec Burks, if we think he's going to get 28 minutes, is great. If he's only going to get 25, that's obviously going to change some things. At least especially on FanDuel, where he's actually 4,700, and things are a little bit different there. So... I think that Al Horford's price has really gotten elevated on DraftKings. On FanDuel, there's still some room there at 6.2. On DraftKings, the price has really gotten elevated. Tobias Harris, on same story with him. The price has just really come up to a point where it's not as easy to just lock him in. However, in game stack scenarios, or to be a little bit different, if you think Philly just takes it to him, I don't hate the idea of playing him anyway and just over projecting them and just making sure to get some exposure. Because if this game does stay close, I do think a lot of people are going to be a little reluctant to play them at those prices. So on FanDuel, again, a little easier. It's not that much of an ask. On DraftKings, it could be a way to get different. Same story with Shake Milton, who played massive minutes in his last game with really big time usage. So I'm actually good with a lot of these guys. Glenn Robinson's only 3,200 going up against the Lakers. If you think the game's going to blow out, stay away. But I think there's some upside. I think a lot of people may assume that and just kind of stay away. Now, that could definitely depend on... Let me see real quick. That could definitely depend on what we see from the Lakers. Anthony Davis missed the last game. I'm assuming he's going to play, but that's all it is an assumption. What the fuck? There we go. 26.5. But that's just an assumption. So we'll have to wait and see. I just lowered Burke to 26.5 to see what happens. Ignore the 17. It's going to adjust. Right now, I made a mistake and put in 17, but it is updating right now as we speak. Still projected for 6x or 26.5. I think that's a little bit more reasonable of a projection. But yeah, this is a situation where, again, I'm willing to overpay for a game stack. Shake Milton, Alec Burks, Al Horford, I'm heavily interested. I want to say heavily, but I'm interested in. And honestly, Furkan Korkmaz, I don't mind either. Actually projecting as one of a solid value play for us. On the Lakers side of the ball, you know what it is. When everybody's healthy, it's either AD or LeBron. That's all I fuck with. If one of these guys miss, if it's Anthony Davis that's out, give me some JaVale McGee, give me some Kyle Kuzma for sure. If either one of them are out, I want Kyle Kuzma. If LeBron's out, Rondo, boom. If AD is out, definitely Kuzma, maybe even some Dwight Howard, maybe even some JaVale McGee. If you want to take a look at Markieff Morris, you can, I guess. But you know the situation here. It ain't nothing new. It's nothing crazy. Appreciate those of you who are rocking with us. If you haven't hit that like button, please hit the like button. That really help us out. Dan T, CK the Truth. Hey, I love y'all too. I do. Dan T says, time to do thy dirty to the neighbor. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, it is. Juice. A-Len winning me a tournament today, just like last year. Let's go. I don't doubt it. I'll probably I want exposure to that spot, so I'll probably be projecting them both decent and then setting a rule to give me one or the other. I would want a little more Giles right now, but that could change depending on how the slate breaks down. But we got a lot of things we're waiting for. So a lot of news out there. I would imagine the slate's going to look a little bit different for our final look, the NBA Wise stream at 5 p.m. So make sure you tune in there and see what's changed, and we'll kind of take it from there, and hopefully we get even more news when we're on that show. And like you said, like y'all said, it's time to do some dirties tonight. Neighbors on alert, guys. Put your neighbors on alert. So hit that like button if you haven't already. I appreciate y'all. As always, y'all are great. Y'all always help us out and try to come through in the clutch for us when we need it. And again, these likes are what allows us to continue to do dirty. So we got the super chat thing going. We got a lot of different ways you can help us out and contribute. Go check us out at WiseTake.com. But the very, very least, to do y'all's part is to hit that like button, because that's how much it means. But that's going to do it for us today, Nation, for the early look. We'll catch you guys for the final look. I'll be updating the projections all throughout the day if you have access to them at WiseTake.com. If you're a monthly subscriber, or if you're just a member in general, we have day passes, all that shit, cheat sheets, all that stuff come with the day pass. So be sure to check it out. With that said, I love y'all. For myself, the entire WiseTake Nation, as always, good luck.